60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the voice of wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a continued discussion on the war in Gaza and anti-Semitism is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Welcome back. It's Wednesday, 6:30, and I'm delighted to be with you, my dear cohorts on this podcast. My most cherished and admired partners, because you add so much. You following the every podcast, I get great insights from some of you, and I really appreciate it. Even if it's criticism, you're all overwhelmingly brilliant. At least the ones that drop me notes or call me. So it's great to be back with you. And before I start with today's program or podcast, or the prevailing headaches that we discussed, world headaches and U.S. headaches, I want to again say something that could add to your happiness. One of the things I could say that would add to your happiness, or should add to your happiness, is recognizing that the UN, or some segment of the UN, that every 3 years does an evaluation of the happiness status of every country in the world. The ones that come out on top regularly are the Scandinavian countries, where everything, they have comprehensive health care all their life. They have every kind of support throughout their life. They pay for child care. What do they call those? Child care houses, or
nursery schools.
Nursery schools. Everything is paid for. They have no,
daycare
centers. The government pays for daycare centers. Just about everything you could think of. So from birth to death, people are secure. They'll never go bankrupt. They're never homeless. They have a minimum wage that, for all those that are working, like, for example, in New York and in this country, McDonald's is screaming and yelling because they pay the minimum wage, national wage or state wage, which in most cases has been for years now $7.50. Recently, some states have begun to raise it. I don't think the national minimum wage has been minimum wage. It should be minimum wage. Has been changed for many years. So in this country, they get $7.50 an hour. In the McDonald's in Denmark, they get $20 an hour. In this case, McDonald's says, if you make us raise what we pay our counter people and all our people that work in our stores, we'd go bankrupt, or we'd have to lay off so many of our people. We'd create enormous unemployment. They got every excuse not to do it. So mostly it involves keeping their profits high, because when you pay higher wages, generally your profits are somewhat reduced. If you can raise the prices, That's why we've had inflation in the last couple of years, because companies have been gouging, especially in the supermarkets. Eggs haven't gone up that much to the cost hasn't gone up that much to the farmers, but the distributors, the wholesalers, have raised the prices dramatically. And when the average consumer goes to the supermarket to buy eggs or many other products, they're very upset, and rightfully so, because the profits of all these companies, one of the reasons not the only reason, but because technology plays a big role too. One of the reasons the stock market is making new highs regularly, it's been the best stock market since maybe ever, or since 1960s, because they're literally, many of these companies, pharmaceutical companies that have products that people must have, oil companies, are gouging the public. Their profits are bigger than ever. So the first five are Finland, Denmark, Sweden, what's another one?
Norway,
and the United States, which on the last survey was weighed in at a happiness level of 16, this time came back at 23. We're the wealthiest country by far in the whole world. We have more blessings, more natural resources, more everything, and we should be like number one if it's based on that. But we've gone from 16 to 23, and for our young people, those between, I think, 16 and 27 or something, I'm not sure what the range is, but something like that, maybe 16 to 30, their happiness level is 63, way down at the level of the most destitute, backward countries, maybe the same as Afghanistan or who knows what, some African countries. And remarkably, Israel was number 10 in this last survey 3 years ago, and this time came in number 5, despite all the aggravation and headaches and wars that they're subjected to, and daily rockets that come, and people have to run into bomb shelters. Israel came in number 5 this time. And why is that? Because number one, in Israel, they have a very positive outlook. They have strong family ties. People spend time visiting with each other instead of just watching television. About half the families, maybe a little less, don't even have televisions by choice. They can afford it, but they don't have televisions, so their kids don't get depressed or spend all day watching the TV. They spend Sabbaths together, invite friends, families, other families for Friday night dinner and for Shabbat lunch. They contribute large amounts to charity to support their fellow men. So even though it would seem that they should be way low because of the rockets that are tossed at them, thrown at them, launched against them from Lebanon, from Hamas and Gaza, they have an optimistic, happy attitude, and it also helps a lot. I'm not preaching that you have to become religious or have to believe, if you're an atheist and you're happy with it, that you should believe in God. But it is plays a big role too, that they have confidence. My daughters are all very religious, and whatever happens, they say, if God does it, they think it's right and good. We don't understand it, but they trust in God, and they pray to God, and they remain upbeat and optimistic. So do all that. Remain optimistic, upbeat. You control your mind, so be the boss of your mind, and don't let it wander to depressing thoughts and focus on the negatives that keeps you demoralized and depressed. So provide your own happiness. You can do it. No matter if the Israelis can do it with bombs falling around them and with even terrorists within the country, you certainly should be able to do it. So the only other advice I could give you for happiness is get a copy of my book that I wrote with my daughter, Happiness Guaranteed or Your Misery Back. How to be happy no matter what. And it's 365 pages, one page for every day of the year. It has humor, it has wisdom, it has ideas, how to treat yourself better, how to be your best friend, how to be happy in so many different ways, and to imitate what the Israelis do. Get good friends, be nice to everybody, smile all the time. You're in control. But just to reassure you how good this book is, I've had so many compliments from people that received it as gifts. I mentioned in prior weeks that one chief executive president of a Fortune 100 company, one of the biggest companies, said after he got it, he loved it so much that he interrupted a program that his two sons and his wife were watching, and he went over and turned off the TV, and they hollered, "Dad, what are you doing? We love this program. It's our favorite program." He said, "I just DVR'd it. You'll be able to watch it later. I want you to listen to this one page." So they said, okay. They listened to one page. He said they liked it so much, it's become a custom now of theirs, a habit of theirs, a form of joy and entertainment for them at dinner or during the day to read one page together. And so he said he sent out 1,000 copies, and normally he gets a thank you right after they receive it, and the rest of the time, and for most he doesn't even get that, but he still sends it to them because it's important to keep them happy. They're his bread and butter. So he said they continue, in this case, they continued to enjoy it for months afterwards, and they call him from time to time and say, "Thank you, this is the best gift I ever got. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really benefiting from it." So I feel so sure that you will benefit and enjoy it that I'm going to give you the best deal that you'd ever heard of. Because on television, they give you the best deal, which is a good deal. Just order it. Somebody's already ordering it. So just order it, and if you don't like it, send back your receipt, and we'll return your money. You can even keep the bottle or keep the rest of the supplement that you bought. So I'm going to give you a better deal than that. If you buy this book, order this book, get it as a gift, whatever. Well, not if you get it as a gift, because you won't have a purchase price that you paid. But if you purchase it and you got a receipt, I will not only give you back your money, I will give you back double that receipt. So it's a win-win situation. So get yourself a copy, and I promise you, you'll be happier than ever. Ultimately, real happy. Otherwise, I'm going to burn all my books. No, really, get a copy. It's because I love you and want you to be happy that I care. Okay, now that I took up this half the program with this monologue on happiness, because I always like to start with some proposals, suggestions, ideas on how to make you happier. So now I will ask my brilliant guest cohort, who I keep inviting back because he's so brilliant and so incisive and so disagreeable sometimes. So it can lead to interesting debates. Len Carey. I always say Carey.
Carter.
Carter. I can't get his name right. He is brilliant. We graduated from the same university, Harvard University, which I hate to admit that I went to it because they become so bad. They passed some new rule this week that they have to get rid of all the shares in Israeli companies. They call it BDE. What's it stand for?
BDS.
BDS, I'm sorry.
Boycott,
divest,
sanction,
and
sanction,
and sanctions from any company in Israel. So, and they have a lot of on-campus anti-Semitism that they're tolerating. It's unbelievable. I'm embarrassed to say that I went to that university. But anyway, he and I both graduated from Harvard Business School, which, notwithstanding their anti-Semitism now and other shortcomings, is still the best business school. It's considered the best business school in the United States and probably in the world. And I got graduated with distinction at top of my class, as did Len Carter. What does it say on your degree? Carter or Kid? Carey. Len Carter. And before that, he graduated from a great Ivy League university, Cornell University, as a graduate engineer, as an engineer. And then he went on to one of the other really greatest school in America, in the United States, Stanford, where he got a master's in engineering, and then followed by attending Harvard Business School. So he's brilliant, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy listening to him. So I'll keep quiet and let him start about the issues we're going to discuss this week.
Okay, so we had an interesting discussion last week. Didn't quite finish all the angles and details that we wanted to, so that's why we wanted to pick up today as we have crossed over into the 6-month time milestone of the original attack on Israel on October 7th. We're now more than 6 months into it. And not just the impacts that attack has had on Israel, but now how it's expanded outside of Israel and into the broader Middle East and even into the United States. And as you said before, how some of the universities and Congress and other people are reacting. So, but let's start with something that just happened recently, so that Israel has withdrawn some troops from Khan Yunis, which is one of the southern cities in southern Gaza. An interesting move. I guess you think that's why'd they do that, and is that something that Hamas is going to see as a victory, for them?
That's a good question you raise. The reason they did that, it's irrational. They don't just do things. The government itself, the president and the cabinet, and then the IDF and the generals decided that they had cleaned out, how do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce that city?
Khan Yunis.
Khan Yunis. They had cleaned up
Khan Yunis, gotten rid of all the Hamas terrorists in there. That's what they say.
They had cleaned it up. They did leave a squadron behind, but they didn't feel that they needed so many troops there. And moreover, they wanted to prepare those troops to perhaps go to war against Lebanon, that has been bombing the northern part of Israel, so much so that 60,000 residents of that living to that border have left and have been put up in hotels closer to the center of Israel, paid for by the Israeli government. And it doesn't stop. It may, they feel, lead to a second war with other than the one with Gaza and Hamas, with Lebanon, which is both are backed by Iran, right? As is Syria, which is right adjacent to Israel. So they did that, and then also in anticipation of having those troops get ready to attack the final stage that Netanyahu correctly says they have no choice if they're going to get rid of this perennial October 7th kind of murder, savagery, heinous behavior, rapes and baby. They even have hostages that they took on October 7th that they still have 6 months later, that are, one is 87 or something, and others are close to that, and many women that supposedly they learned, not supposedly, they learned that from the women that have been let go in the last settled agreement, a trade for the Israeli prisoners, or the prisoners that Israel held that were part of Hamas, said they were abused. That the Hamas men came into the toilet with them, helped forced them to get undressed at times, raped them. I mean, it's too horrid to. And they're also holding like a 4-month or as 8 month, I forget exactly, an infant as a hostage. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can't believe that human beings can be so hard. Well, I guess they were during the Nazi period. In the Nazi period, some of the Nazis took infants and threw them up in the air and caught them on their bayonets. I don't know if you all know what bayonets are. They're sort of swords at the end of their rifles. So they caught him on these swords, and they laughed and enjoyed themselves. And IDF has recordings of two terrorists talking, and they say they're laughing, and one of them says he and his cohorts, a couple of friends, captured a bunch of, he called them horses, and indicates that they had such a good time raping them or molesting them. And they laughed and they said, don't say, say only horses. So they have it on tape, and that's only one instance. So Netanyahu is rightfully saying we can't tolerate leaving them. We gave them the Palestinians and the Hamas that the Palestinians voted in to run it. We gave it to them when we had complete control of Gaza, and we had many of our own citizens, our own Israelis, having businesses there and agricultural, and were making good livings, and refused to even leave. We had to send in the IDF to take them out physically and militarily, and we gave it to them without any payments, any conditions, anything. And then we left them alone, and this is the payback we've been getting for years. This is the third or fourth military involvement attack we've had from them, where they tossed all these rockets and bombs over the.
Well, that's been nonstop for years.
Yeah, and we found out they built tunnels that go right up to the border. So, and they spent billions, 400 miles of tunnels. All that money came from the UN and from other countries that contributed enormous amounts of money that was meant for the people, for the Palestinian people that lived there, that moved there, and used it to buy steel and all the things necessary, all the contents, all the supplies necessary, all the what is it called? All the wood and
all the materials
all
that,
the
that they would
materials.
need to build a network of
See, I told you
underground
he's a-
tunnels.
I told you he's a genius. All the materials that they had to bring in and to build those tunnels.
Right, not exactly to
So
benefit the population of Gaza.
so notwithstanding that Kamala Harris, our vice president, a Democratic vice president, announced last week that Israel is so cruel and they have to let up and not attack the last stronghold of Hamas, which was Rafah, where there's 3 battalions still, and many of the leaders of this upheaval, of this assault, of this tragic October 7th event, and get rid of them. So she says, well, they can't do that because those Palestinians, there's 1.3 million or something Palestinians there that have no place to go. She doesn't say one word about that they're in a border of Egypt, which is their own religious religion sharers, religion believers, and their own Arab and Muslim leaders, Muslim people, and tell Egypt, why don't you open your borders and at least temporarily allow them to come in? And the same for Lebanon and the same for Jordan, which is essentially Palestine. It's all it was the Palestinians that set up Jordan. Why doesn't she say that? Israel's the only one that gets, even though it was attacked, is the only one that gets criticized constantly and threatened that the U.S. will change its support or withdraw its support for Israel or withdraw the provision of armaments.
Or condition the support, yeah. So let's talk about Rafah for a moment. So Netanyahu has announced that the date for the invasion is set. He didn't say when the date is. He didn't do what we did in Afghanistan, which was tell them when we're going to leave. He just said, the date's been set. So
we didn't tell Afghan the date that we were coming in either. We just went in right after 9/11.
Right, but we did tell them when we're going to leave. So that was
That's not true. A few presidents said we're going to leave and never did. And Biden finally pulled out our troops and whatever personnel we may have had and ended our war that we were indulging in Afghanistan. And in my book, that's something that he should rave about and take credit for.
So why do you think?
So we didn't. We announced. Obama announced it, and before him, who else was there? Was Bush in Afghanistan too? Bush. Prior presidents before Biden said it, and they negotiated with Afghanistan leaders. They never pulled this out, and we'd still be there today.
So what do you think? What's the benefit to telling we have a date? I mean, why not just, if you're going to do it, do it. As soon as you announce a date or you say you're going to do it, now you raise, more.
Well, in my view, it's a war, and he should have done it, notwithstanding that it would be tragic. A lot of innocent civilians.
So why not do it? Why announce your date's been set?
Just let me finish. We didn't announce to the German civilians to get. If anything, Israel is the most considerate, most careful, because they announce and they send pamphlets down to the houses or the areas that they're going to attack or bomb. No other country in the world, to my knowledge, does that. So, I think it was a mistake not going right through it, because now they're being, criticized worse than if they had actually finished by this time. But they didn't, out of consideration and respect for the Muslim holiday that just ended. What's it called?
Ramadan.
They didn't want to do it during Ramadan. And they opened up the mount, what's it called? The mount where they prayed, the Muslims. What's it called? Not the total mount, the holy mount, not the holy mount. Excuse me, people, but my memory fails me at this stage of my life. I get it. In the middle of the night, I'll get it, or right after, when I don't think of it, I'll get
Temple Mount.
The Temple Mount. They let all the Muslims come to the Temple Mount had police protecting them, and there was no big upheaval that a lot of people were concerned about. A lot of countries and their leaders and their foreign ministers were concerned would break out into a slaughter of innocent praying people. So Israel did right in respecting that holiday, as they always do. You have to remember when the Arabs, when Jordan, which is a moderate country, controlled the part of Israel that Israel captured after they were attacked in 1967, and they controlled Jerusalem and its surroundings and the Temple Mount and the wall that's part of the Holy Temple, the most holy temple that the Jews go to pray at, to worship at. They did not allow the Arabs and the Muslims and the Jordanians and the Palestinians did not allow Jews to build to attend synagogues. They destroyed the Jewish cemeteries. They didn't allow Christians to visit Christ's walk, or the area where Christ's holiest events occurred within that Jerusalem and surrounded area. It was only after the Jewish Israelis took it over that now all of the world can come, every religion, Christians, Jews, Catholics are Christians. Who else didn't they allow? Christians, Jews, any other religions. Only Muslims, only Arabs could come. It was only after Israel took it over that I'm saying we, the Jewish people, I include myself in that group, proudly, we allow every one of these religions, regardless. They could be Hindu, they could be, what is it, Sikh, the Indians, every religion. And at that time, Bethlehem, where Christ was born, and which is holy to the Christians. At that time, the Christians had maybe 80% of the occupancy of Bethlehem. Today, the Muslims, the Arabs, now control 80% or more of Bethlehem. So you could see the mistreatment or the bias or the not only against the Jews, but against religions, other religions as well, that these Muslims, that the Quran encourages them to force to convert or to be wiped out.
So with all that's going on and all that Israel has on its plate with Gaza, why do you think they, struck this Iranian embassy with the senior Iranian leaders in Syria?
Because
does that put them on the brink of war? Was that, from a timing point of view, was it a wise strategic move now that it could open up the war to another front?
It's obvious because Iran is the source and the supporters and the providers of the bombs and all of the equipment that these people at Hamas have in Gaza, that the Lebanese have, what's the group called?
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah has, that attacks Israel every day now, and Yemen, that
Houthis
that target American ships and
Right.
British ships and
Right.
all the ships
So
of the
there's
world.
certainly all these proxy groups.
The proxy groups.
But
exactly.
why not sort of knock them off one at a time as opposed to try to do it all at once?
Actually, the United States should be doing that, because they're really attacking the United
Yes.
States. When Iran talks about Israel, they talk about the little Satan. When they talk about the United States, they talk about the big Satan. They hate the United States as much or more than they hate the Israelis, the Jews. And so why the U.S. and its leaders and its generals don't endorse, encourage, insist that the United States go to the head of the snake, that's the source of all the problems, and just shoots fruitlessly at the Yemenis and the Houthis and the Syrians and the Iraqis that are attacking Americans in Iraq. Why are they not acting just as Israel's acting to defend their vital interests? I don't understand that. So it's easy to understand why Israel.
But just in terms of timing, though, I mean, why is it a wise thing? You're already busy in Gaza. Now you're gonna, Iran says it's going to retaliate somehow. They may go after the U.S. because they blame the U.S. for everything, but now they may tell Hezbollah to attack from Lebanon. It seems to me like, yes, you're right. I mean, I saw one of the former prime ministers of Israel was talking, his analogy was Iran is an octopus, and there's all these tentacles out there rather than trying to chop off tentacles. And so that was his explanation as to why they did that.
Because Hezbollah uses Syria. They're right adjacent to Syria. They actually cooperated in running Syria to attack Israel. And some major members of the what's it called, the Iranian Guard.
No, the senior.
It's called something Guard.
Yeah.
Military Guard.
The elite top Iranian troops.
Some of the leaders were there, and they had the opportunity to do a surgical bombing. So they didn't want to forego that very opportunistic
Revolutionary Guard.
Revolutionary Guard.
I guess it was opportunity because it was a precision attack.
Yeah.
They got 7 guys or so.
Yeah.
You take there are going to be ramifications, but it was worth it because they got 7 guys they wouldn't have got.
As one of the top spokesmen for Israel, a brilliant guy. I think I send you the recording, the video, says that they will, in years to come, because Hamas says that the Israelis attacked the Shiri hospital, and it was a hospital that has all kind of surgery going on and treatment of sick people, and what's the ward that gives birth to maternity ward, and Israel attacked it. And Israel says they would hope they would invite the UN or some nonpartisan group or organization to come in and check. That they did such a surgical job of destroying these guys, these Hamas people, where they found munitions under the beds where women were giving birth in the maternity wards. And in every ward, they found bombs and guns and ammunition. And so the spokesman says, in years to come, when this is all over with, he's confident, he's sure that West Point and what's the one in England, Sandhurst, that's the West Point of Great Britain, will come and marvel and try to imitate and duplicate the kind of surgical
methodologies
mission that the Israelis did in this hospital. So
if the going hand in hand with expanded conflicts is the need for conscriptions in Israel, every person is required 3 years, I believe, to serve. And now the question, which has recently been brought to light again, relates to who should serve in Israel. And just recently that Israel's Attorney General, Gali Baharav Miara, told the Israeli Defense Ministry and Education Ministry just last week that the process of drafting members of the ultra-Orthodox community, the Haredim, into the army must begin the next day. So that exemption, she's saying, is now gone, while also warning against any attempt to continue funding yeshivas that harbor students who may dodge their army service against court orders.
What did you just say, Harvard?
Harbor.
Oh, harbor.
Because they
protect them.
Yes, yeah. Harvard. We'll get to Harvard a little bit later, because they also. So I guess big question. It's been out there back and forth. It's not the first time this issue, but it's now an issue because the defense minister is saying the exemption is now gone. Should the Haredim be exempt from the draft?
I must tell you, even though I'm Orthodox and my family's Orthodox, I believe that they should serve. If they don't want to go to the front, they should serve at the medics, or they could serve in many ways to assist overcoming this terrible war event that was perpetrated on the innocent people on October 7th. So,
I mean, it's a challenge because they can't serve with women alongside women.
But I must know they do serve alongside women. They have special. They do have.
Well, they haven't been. No, but the Haredim.
They do have. No.
They haven't been.
They do have Orthodox battalions, or I don't know if they call them battalions or some divisions, where only men serve. So
they could serve in those.
Yeah. But I should point out that Israel doesn't force any of the Arab citizens within Israel to serve. The United States in the Second World War did not conscript, did not draft students. Till this day, they don't draft people that are studying to be priests or clergymen or pastors, or if they're at some university or place of learning to prepare them for this role. So it's not that unusual, you know. And that during the Second World War, we wanted to draft everybody, but we didn't draft people that were at school, and during the Korean War as well.
But that's an argument that, I mean, we didn't, in the U.S., we didn't draft people in the seminary. So if someone's in yeshiva studying to be a rabbi, under the same analogy, why would they be drafted? We didn't do it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So you're saying they should serve.
I'm saying to deal with what the secular, a large part of Israel, maybe the largest part of Israel, Jews, are secular rather than Haredi. But to satisfy their complaint, I think for good relationships, for a better country, that because now they're threatening they're going to close the yeshivas and leave the country and so forth. That's not useful. And so I think for that reason, they should volunteer that, you know, if somebody's really going to be like a dean they call it Rosh Hashiva, the head of an institution, and is making a career, maybe you allow them, just as you allow somebody who's studying for the priesthood to go on for many years, so he's prepared to be. So I don't think there's anything wrong, and I'd like to see them serve. But, you know, it's more, there's anti-Semitism, and in Israel there's anti-Haredim. Because what's his name, the lawyer, he just announced today that if he and the Hamas would surrender, he would represent him as his attorney. What's his name? The Harvard attorney that
Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz.
Alan Dershowitz said, "I would represent you. I would fight for your freedom, for your, even though all the things that you did to me are repulsive and horrid. If you do that, I would." So Alan Dershowitz, I was with him in Israel one time on a.
So he would defend.
What's his name? So what's the guy's name? The head of it, the founder and head of it.
He would defend the founder of Hamas.
So what's his name? Whose son? I have it on.
Yeah.
I think I sent it to you. Talks about how bad his father is. How cruel,
and why would Dershowitz
vicious.
do that? Just because he would
end the. He doesn't want to see he's angry at. He said he never voted for a Republican in his life, and he always voted Democrat, and it's hard for him to vote Republican. But based on what the position that the administration and even the Jewish Secretary of State, what's his name?
Anthony Blinken.
Anthony Blinken and Kamala Harris said he could never vote for that. The threat that they would take away support of Israel if they didn't do this or that, interfering. Even a Jewish guy, the leading Jew of all time in terms of leadership in the United States. The political leadership of the United States. Chuck Schumer, who's the leader of the Senate, majority leader of the Senate, likewise a Democrat, said unbelievably, countries rarely intrude in the operations of the politics of another country, or
particularly Democratic ones.
Right.
To call for new elections,
Right.
that was not appropriate. I mean, I think that's an interesting proposal by Dershowitz. As you would say, the probability of that happening is FC, fat chance.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Negotiating for the hostages, Bibi Netanyahu has offered Hamas everything. They offered to have
it's like what they always say: you need a partner in peace.
Yeah,
if you don't have a partner in peace, you can't do it. But how'd you like to be?
They offered a ceasefire. They offered for 40 hostages, 800 or to 1,000 life prisoners,
convicted of murder.
No, more than criminals, because they're serving life, prisoners that are serving life, that are murderers, and they offered them. So the hostages' families, I understand that. If it was my family, I wouldn't care about anything else. I would say, get the hostages out no matter what. I don't care what you give up. But what else could Netanyahu offer them? Yeah. And they say, no way, because they love what's happening, that the whole world is criticizing. Right. Today, Turkey said, Turkey's a big trader with exporter to Israel and makes a lot of income from Israel. They said they're going to stop providing
apricots
products to Israel unless they.
Yeah, Ireland too came out.
More than one country.
But here's the box that Netanyahu's in, because if you lose politically, you lose secular support if you have an exemption, but you lose Haredi support if you don't have exemption. So it really is, in either way, you're going to be screwed
right now.
And so with the coalition that he has, I think if he loses the Haredi coalition support, he's in trouble. And if he loses the secular support,
Netanyahu, Netanyahu knows that now, if he had an election, he would lose.
Yep.
The polls show it, everything shows. So it doesn't matter. He's going to probably work to keep the Haredi on board.
Even at the risk of losing secular support by doing that.
He's going to lose. He's not going to get reelected.
But can't they call for...
The only way he'll get reelected is if he has a major victory and gets all the hostages back, and the people appreciate that. Maybe he'll get reelected. But he's served a long time. He doesn't need it. But it would be wrong for him to quit in the middle of it, because
he has no intention of doing
even
that.
the other side, the major guys running against him, says it would mess up the country for 6 months to hold in Israel an election.
Yeah, I mean, and given the number of times it took to get Netanyahu's coalition, who knows what it could be next time.
It's at least a 6 month, and it distracts from the major job now, which is to find a suitable, constructive end to this war. And so,
well, that's why I've heard cynics say he's intentionally dragging the war out just so that he can stay in political office. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think he's more of a patriot than that, but that's what the cynics I've heard say.
Yeah, They say that about Biden. They say that about Trump. They say it about everybody. They just want to keep their jobs, so they don't care what they do or what they say. He's in trouble because also before this occurred, he was indicted.
Yeah.
Just as Trump is indicted, and he's getting a majority of the vote still of the population, and certainly of the MAGA people. So they think also he wants to keep the job, so he's never put in jail. That makes sense. That's why maybe Trump was so eager to get elected, so he could pardon himself.
Yeah.
But I'm not that cynical, and whatever his motives are, right now, it's not the right time to get rid of him. As soon as this is over, they have a right to get rid of him, but it shouldn't be Chuck Schumer's recommendation or anybody. The people of Israel should, if they want, get rid of him. It's a democracy, and they should hold elections. And in Israel, even the Arab and the Muslim citizens of Israel get to vote.
Yeah, I mean, regular elections, I think, are not for another 18
and another
months or
group
so.
that's not Jewish, Druze, who even serve in the military. They're more Arab than they are Jewish, or they're part of that world. Are good citizens and serve in the IDF and the Israeli Defense Forces.
I see we are about out of time.
We are?
We are. We haven't.
I didn't even let you get 5 words in edgewise. I'm sorry.
We have, and then so maybe next time we'll expand the conversation to include We've talked about Israel. We talked about how that conflict is potentially broadening to other parts of the Middle East, like Iran, Lebanon, others. So now we'll maybe next time go one step further to how it's been trickling into the United States,
expanding to Brooklyn.
Yes, and ultimately to the Mecca capital of the United States, Brooklyn. Particularly some of the universities and things like that. So that's a whole interesting topic.
That's a very tough issue because it's very frightening and devastating for people like you and I who happen to be Jewish, and certainly very constructive for this nation and non-confrontational even to the Muslims or any people. We don't, unlike the Muslims, we argue, we disagree, we are known to be what is it called? Debaters?
No, we're not.
Argue. I don't know what the word is. Arguable people.
Who said?
But we never.
You're wrong.
We never physically attack each other, mentally, right? Or psychologically we do, but not physically. Unlike the Muslims, who the Sunnis, the same religion, the Sunnis killed the Shiites, and the Shiites killed it, all because they adopted a different segment of the same religion. They all believe in the Quran, and then the ISIS kills all of them that if done practiced correctly. So I don't know why did I bring that up?
We'll always have a topic to debate for sure. So,
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That'll be good for the next next time.
Keep your ears open,
Comments
and your eyes
coming.
open. And next Wednesday night, we'll be back on with you, and I hope you'll get a chance to join us and enjoy. I think I'll have Mr. Carter back again. As you can see, he at least raises all the good issues. And
I don't have answers. I have questions. Good at questions, not good at answers.
And disagrees with almost everything I say.
No, I don't.
No? Say that? See how disagreeable we are to each other? Anyway, I love you all. I wish you all a happy week, a happy every day of your life. Each day of your life should be better than the prior day. God bless you. And again, have a wonderful life, a happy life.